Maryann Boom Boom Maisano here, producer and headliner of the Italian Chicks Comedy and Variety Show, and Dr. Joe Luciani, PhD. Wow. That's a big freaking title.
You like that, huh?
I do like that. Yeah, I wanted to be. Did you know that if I wasn't going to go, well, you know, I got wrapped up in corporate for many years. All right, so hey, thanks guys for joining in. Had a little bit of a blip there for a minute, but we're back. Did you know that I always wanted to be a shrink if I wasn't going to be a performer?
You say that to all the shrinks, don't you? No, you went the right direction, away from being a shrink.
You don't think I would have made a good shrink? No. Why?
Because you're too loud.
I wouldn't yell at people.
You would.
Maybe after 5 times. I would give them a little while to get it, and then I'd say... You
have no patience.
True, I don't have a lot of patience, but I wouldn't yell at a patient. If he or she complained about the same shit for 5 times, then I would say, oh, Mink, let's get it with the freaking program here, right?
And what do you think happens in therapy? You don't think things get repeated 5 or 6 times?
Well, yeah, I'm assuming, but maybe different ways, but then... Don't you get sick of hearing the same shit?
No.
Oh.
Who listens? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, of course.
So, thank you guys for joining in. Let me just see who's here right now. We have Rosemary. Hey, girl. What's going on? Mike. Thank you, Mike. Michael Rosario, my little meatball. I love this kid. Okay. So,
before we begin.
Yeah.
St. Rocco was this week.
Oh my God, St. Rocco's Feast in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Dr. Joe and I grew up on the same street, and we used to go to this feast.
Absolutely.
Every year.
I lived next, remember the Perinos?
Yeah,
next door to me?
Uh-huh.
Well, Mr. Perino used to take care of the statue, the St. Rocco.
I didn't know that.
He used to be in his garage.
I didn't know that.
And we'd always creep up to the garage and look in and look at the statue. You ever see the statue? It's got St. Rocco with the dog.
With the dog, yeah.
What's with the dog?
Well, I think he was in competition. Who was the other saint with the dogs? Wasn't it Francis or Jude? Saint.
There's another dog saint? I don't know.
There's a saint for animals.
Oh, St. Francis.
St. Francis. But I think St. Rocco,
right.
He's also for animals. But I think St. Francis won out, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but what I had always heard was that he has a wound on his leg, which is on the statue.
Right.
And the dog licked the wound,
and
it got better.
Well, then the dog should be the saint.
That's very good.
Right? Don't you think the fucking dog, if the dog licked it, the dog has the powers.
Saint Fido.
Saint Fido, right. Because St. Rocco to me got so watered down. Because Fort Lee's not the way it used to be. I mean, they don't even have an Italian stand there anymore. No. It's all bok choy, zeppelis. They don't even have a sausage and pepper stand.
No.
Yeah. So I really think that St. Rocco is the patron saint for things that fell off the truck.
I always thought it was the patron saint of Hudson Street.
All right. Here's the first question for Dr. Joe and Boom Boom. Why, Dr. Joe, why do I have such a hard time letting go of people after we break up? Could it stem from a mother who wasn't present, a dad who died when I was 2, a house where sibling rivalry was encouraged, and more importantly, why do I feel that by keeping them around, I kind of have an ace in the hole? I hold on to relationships longer than I should, then consistently second-guess myself while I'm looking for the next best thing. Wow.
Well, there's a lot there, but essentially we're talking about the effects of insecurity.
Right.
You grow up with insecurity, and you tend to cling. It's hard to let go because the insecurity sets doubt in motion. We're just never sure, am I doing the right thing? So if you have something, I guess the philosophy is something is better than nothing, or until something else comes along, and you leapfrog from one person to the next. So you're living with handholds. Your relationship becomes like handholds. You have one you hold on to, and then you go to the next, then you let go of this one, because there isn't enough inner security or esteem to really just stay in between relationships and just be okay with yourself. But the background sets us up for insecurity. Everyone has insecurity to some extent, but the background does set you up. What you have to realize is that sometimes you may be averse to risk, And with a relationship, you know, if you're clinging too much, you're afraid to risk moving forward, and that can really be a problem, especially if it's inhibiting your, you know, your potential.
Mm-hmm. Well, so then how do they go about trying to work on this to make this a little better for themselves?
Well, you know, the issue is letting go.
Mm-hmm.
When you let go, if you are insecure, you're going to feel some degree of anxiety, some degree of stress. This person sounds like he or she knows that letting go is already a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of recognizing that if insecurity is driving it, then you have to challenge yourself and realize that you're clinging for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So sometimes it's a firm act of will. You just have to, in order to grow a self-discipline muscle, you have to flex it, you have to exercise it, you have to take those small risks that allow you to start going forward in a more independent fashion. Dependency will always drag you down, one way or another.
Right. I agree with you.
Wow.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Aren't you? Yeah. I do agree with you, however.
Oh, don't know howevers. Either you agree or you disagree.
No, however, I agree with you. I do have a little spin, a different spin.
You know, it's like when someone says yes, but. Everything after the but, you know, nothing before it really is true.
Well, you're right. I didn't say yes, but I'm just saying, however, I do have another spin. I absolutely think you're absolutely 100% correct.
Right. Sure you do. Sure.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. But here's what I'm thinking. I do think it's insecurity based. Okay? Because I think, and you know, we do have a background here. If we didn't know that background, I would just assume there'd be something in your background that made this happen. That's what I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think it's all about. We don't just wake up one day and go, shit, I'm insecure, okay? We kind of, our insecurity comes out because it's triggered by something that happened in our past, and then someone says something to us in our present, and I think we have to learn how to manage that, or for the rest of your friggin' life, you're going to be walking around with this bullshit, and you're never going to evolve. Am I right?
There's the yelling I'm talking about.
Well, because you just got to...
Listen, let me say, you said something very good.
Okay.
A great definition of neurosis. It's a confusion of the past with the present. And you kind of said it, but see, you don't have the degree after your name, so of course I need to clarify that for you.
Like, chi cazzo, chi stucca, disgraziata. But that made sense.
Yes, of course.
Get you joining us. I always let you know ahead of time. We usually do every other Wednesday. And Joe, I've always wanted to say this to you.
Please.
I've always wanted to say this to Joe. Our time is up. Doesn't it suck? Especially if you're a patient and you're on the couch and you're like, and then he goes, say it, Joe.
Our time is up now.
What do you mean? I got more shit to say. What do you mean? Can I pay you more money? If I give you more money, can I tell you more?
Yes, of course.
No, you would say, no, your time is up.
No,
Go.
give me more money.
Oh, mother of Jesus.
You know, speaking of alcohol, why is it that I have this tremendous need to run to a bar right now? I mean, you do this to me. I mean, I want to just somehow escape the turmoil I feel.
That's because my energy is just so infectious for you. It's just so infectious.
Yeah, like a disease.
But I wouldn't go to a bar and sit at the bar alone because you're married. And you know what that means.
Wait.
Die alone at the bar.
You wouldn't go and sit at a bar because I'm married?
No, you shouldn't go because you're married. Because I'll tell your wife. All right? So thanks so much. This is my buddy, Dr. Joe. Check him out, selfcoaching.net. He's not a calm guy, he's a net guy.
And we're all ADD.
We're all ADD, remember that. Shiny object, shiny object.
She said it, she says it.
Sorry about that, guys. I hope you look up on the Facebook page. We got kicked out for some reason. Nasty.
It's a conspiracy.
It is.
They're out to get us.
I think so. It's the Facebook police.
We're not paranoid.
No, we're not paranoid.
Those paranoiacs, they're dangerous.
But the energy, you're right, because your energy is reflective of what you are. So if you're neurotic and you have all these anxieties and you have all this trauma, you're going to attract that because you haven't been able to center yourself,
right,
even psychologically, right?
Agreed.
Fucking smart, not too bad, huh? All right.
Don't get carried away.
All right. Now we have Lori. She's married for 8 years. She can't stand her husband's parents. They never talk to her when she visits them. She's a vegetarian, and when she goes there, they don't even take the time to make a dish that she can eat. She doesn't always want to go and visit. And then anytime, and they don't see each other that often. It's like a holiday here or there. But every time they have to go, she winds up getting to a fight with her husband. How should she approach this?
Well, I'm going to let Boom Boom answer that because I know what she's going to say, and I'll agree with Boom Boom on this one, the black and white view. But the one thing I would say is that if you expect, let's say you have a dog and the dog starts barking, and if you expect that dog to start meowing, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be frustrated because that dog's never going to stop barking and it'll never start meowing.
Right.
There are times where you want someone to be different, and that expectation leaves you chronically disappointed. If someone is over time not changeable and not changing, if your expectation is, well, why can't they, and why did she say that? You've got, you know what I always say to myself when I'm with someone, I always say, God bless people, they're entitled to their neurosis. Who am I to say someone shouldn't be neurotic? Now, with your in-laws, of course, it's more of a challenge, but nevertheless, they are who they are, and you're not going to get a handy, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not going to get a fair shake.
Right, a fair shake.
You're not going to get a fair shake from them. So when you go there, my suggestion would be you go there with the expectation that it's in all probability going to be what it was, so you don't leave disappointed or shocked or dismayed. You don't get into an argument with your husband. It is what it is. And oftentimes in life, there are, it's the serenity prayer. There are certain things we just can't change.
Right. And you know what? I tend to agree with you here because the way I look at it is, look, it's not that they're over every friggin' weekend, right?
Right.
That you have to deal with them twice a month. You got to deal with them maybe 2 times a year.
Right.
So there are some things you got to suck up.
Like the meatballs.
Right. Right. So you got to suck that up, right?
This vegetarianism is a good thing.
I'm not saying.
But you don't want to make it into a cause celeb every time you go there. You want to kind of downplay it. And,
right.
If there's nothing to eat, that's a problem because then they're probably sticking it to you. But if there are other things you could nibble on and just get through the meal,
right.
You do what you
But
want.
if you already have this in your mind that you don't like them and they don't talk to you and you don't want to go there, then if you and I were the couple, then I'd be fighting with you and you'd be fighting with me because you're like, just come, it's my family.
Right.
Because then if you got to go there without me, they're going to say to you.
And it's not an uncommon problem. It really is not an uncommon problem.
Really?
It's exactly what you say. If it's, he's going to take care of his parents. He's not going to just, throw them out in the trash. But you want the husband in this case to acknowledge that they're being unfair. Now, certainly it would be nice for him to try to intervene in their behavior, but let's assume that even his intervention doesn't...
Thanks for joining, guys. I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah, so even, let's just say he's not going to be effective either. In which case, then, your battle is not with your husband.
Right, right. And I feel you have to both compromise there.
Right.
Like, if you were my husband, you should be...
God.
You shouldn't be a...
Oh, God. Oh. Could you imagine?
No
offense.
I would
No
chew
offense.
you up and spit you out. Okay.
No offense. I didn't mean to be
No.
that dramatic.
No, I know, but it was good. I liked it.
You talked about throwing out the baby with the bathwater as a bad image. I mean, that was a trauma for me to even have that thought.
And every time I talked to you, I'd have a fucking lemon in my hand.
God.
Okay?
Wow.
No, but I think, then you would have to, you'd almost feel like you'd be defending your parents, in a way. Mm-hmm. Like, well, come on, and then I'd be going, but why do I gotta go there? And so therein lies the compromise in a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to gut it up sometimes, especially, the hard part is holidays, things like that.
Right.
Who wants to go sit where you're feeling threatened and attacked and everything else, but, you do it for your partner.
Right.
You gut it up and you do certain things. It's got to be a give and take. It's not just your giving, but, there are things like this where you share the problems.
Hey guys, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I don't know what happened in the last video, but we got popped out and we're back in. All right, so the last question we have is from a woman, Fatima. Oh, Spirito Santo. Fatima!
I went to, my grammar school was called Our Lady of Fatima.
Mine too. But then they changed the name of it to Madonna.
After the singer.
After the singer. And then I changed it to Our Lady of Perpetual Motion. And continually sang like a virgin, all right? She said she's in a new relationship. And she's, you know, it's a great relationship. She doesn't see any red flags. And she's exploratory when it comes to being physical. But she was taken away in this moment. I'm trying to figure out how I can be nice about phrasing this. So, with anal sex, okay? And she found it fun in the moment because it hadn't been something she did in a long time. But now she finds herself thinking about it once in a while. Like, is this like a bad thing? I guess because your name is Fatima. That's why you were scared about thinking about it. What do you think?
Well, I think the sexuality is certainly an adventurous thing for a healthy relationship. I think if it is, the most important thing is that whatever happens within a relationship, if it's a mutual experience and not a coerced experience, you know, it's fine. You know, I just think that the bottom line is that you have to both be of like mind with something like that. Mm-hmm. And if so, then, you know, sex can be a very creative outlet for many people. You know, there's been lots of inhibitions about sexuality based on, you know, upbringing and
right.
Sex being dirty and this and that. So I think it's really a matter of just, you know, again, if I may emphasize the point, it's very important to be clear that you're both on that same plane.
Right. You know, I remember a couple of weeks ago on one of our shows, you gave an analogy that, see, because these things stick in our head from as a child. Right. You know, that you, when you went to bed at night, you would have to keep your hands outside of the covers because, was it Father Donovan?
No, Divine.
Father Divine.
Absolutely.
Father Divine said that you couldn't whack off.
No, he didn't say that.
Oh, I thought that's what he said.
No, he just said, if your hands are underneath the covers, it's a sin. But he didn't clarify that. And I told you a few weeks ago, I was in college with my hands on top of the covers. I didn't know why. But the Catholic Church would tell you something's a sin. You didn't do it. You didn't question it. No. I was in college, and I said, oh my God, that's what he was talking about. But to this day, you know, my habit is, you know, habits is hands on top.
But you know that's what he meant.
No, I didn't.
But now you know that's what he meant.
1959.
Right, but in theory, I guess I'm not saying 1959, but in theory, now we know what he meant.
Yeah, of course.
He was saying, don't go home and whack off. Keep your hands outside the covers, right?
Father Divine wouldn't have a thought like that. Nor would he express himself like. How do you think he got the name Divine? You think that was accidental? Jeez.
That was funny, Joe. How did he get the name Divine?
I was attributed to him by the church. The church?
Oh my God. So I don't think masturbation is wrong, do you?
Absolutely not. It's in any culture. It is absolutely part of nature. It's the inhibition of sexual exploration, especially in younger children, not young children. But you know, these are the things that, you know, parents get aghast at and create all kinds of reactions to sexuality. Now,
do you know? And I'm just. Look, if you think I'm crazy, then, you know, please.
Do I think she's crazy? Hudson Street. You should have. All right, we'll have a show one day on whether Dr. Joe thinks Boom Boom is crazy, and again, it'll be one of those shows where everyone votes.
No, look, I'm healed. You healed me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Masturbation is dangerous though because there's a fear.
You go blind.
No more of that. They've cured that. It's no more blindness, okay? Because they have LASIK surgery now. Okay? But your fear is that if you keep doing it, that nobody can do it better than you.
Isn't there a song like Nobody Does It
Nobody does it better. But couldn't that, you know? Because I think that happened to me years ago. That I was afraid I would scream my own name out in bed.
I'm not a Freudian, but I guess it would be autoeroticism.
Ooh.
I don't know, that just came
Ooh.
from
Autoeroticism! Dang!
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean...
And you know what's really... I'll share this with you, because it's a shrinky thing.
Oh, boy. We're not in private, you know.
Well, I know, but I don't care. I know. Every once in a while, I would use my left hand just to see what it felt like to cheat on me.
Do you know when I go for a proctology exam, I ask them to use 2 fingers?
No way. Why?
I want a second opinion.
Stop! I can't! Very good, Joe. Very good. Oh, my God. Well, listen, guys. Let me just see here if we got... we got one good. TMI.
What's TMI?
Too much information.
Oh.
Okay.
That's right. Thank you for saving me.
Okay, so I think we should wrap up, and I really appreciate you guys joining in so much. Really, thank you. And I think we should do kind of the same thing. Try to send me some emails on what you guys are feeling or experiencing, and we'll try to answer them separately and collectively. Are there any other? Because you know you're the credible person. I'm the fucking lunatic.
You're incredible.
Oh, that was.
And I say that in a mean way.
You son of a bitch! Nasty today. He's riled up today. I think he got a little over the weekend. I'm gonna have to see if your wife's home when I leave. Okay. So, is there any closing statement you want to tell people, or
no?
No. Okay,
that's it. I'm done.
Fuck it, he's done.
I'm done. She takes everything out of you. Could you imagine? Just go back to that image, being married to this boom boom. Oh my God! I mean, that's just. I have nothing left. I'm drained. I'm not going to be able to work tonight. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. You talk about being scared. That's
what's going to happen.
Worse than a lemon.
The first patient you have today, you're going to start yelling at them. What do you mean you got fucking anxiety? Get over it, right? Don't you think?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, Dr. Joe, thank you again. It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
Great guy. If you want to check him out, Dr. Joseph Luciani. He has some books out on Amazon as well, and it's selfcoaching.net. Michelle Bell, if your issues are really as legitimate as you describe, please give him a call, and I'm sure he'll discuss with you how you can work together. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Probably a week and a half I'll post, and we'll be up there. Ciao. Boom, boom, out.
Vote Hudson Street.
Oh, no. Shrink Wrap. Name of the show. Okay? Okay. I hope you guys realize that we flipped out on some kind of strange, bizarre connection. And find this again and join in. So the question I was going to ask you is that, as I said, and I think we might have froze that, and I think it's particularly women, maybe men feel this way and they don't share it as much, but women have this tendency to really believe in the romance and the mystical, magical part of love. And as I said before, I blame Disney. Cinderella. It's not a real thing. All right. And I'm a Jiminy Cricket. I am. You know that about me. I look for the silver lining all the time. In all those movies, Splendor in the Grass, all the shit. Give me a break. So now, they get involved. And like I said, with behavior modification, as you know for me, there were these stats that anybody could do anything for 3 months. After 3 months, if they're still the same person, that means they're real. And the habits, stuck, so to speak, okay? If not, they turn into this rat bastard, and now you're stuck because you're in love with them, okay? So you spend a significant amount of time with them, and they wind up kicking your ass to the curb, okay? So now, how does one, the person who was kicked to the curb, stop making these poor choices, be able to recognize this is a poor choice in front of me, and then how do they build themselves back up so they're not saying to themselves out in the community, you know what, I don't want to date anybody, I'm not interested in, and they kind of hermit themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, You touch upon a lot of issues here.
I know, I did.
I'll try to highlight some of the 14 that you mentioned. But, yeah, it's very devastating when you wake up to the reality that someone that you were in love with and someone that you trusted turns out to be a monster. It throws you off your game and, of course, your confidence. So as you go forward, of course, you're wondering, you know, how do I know?
Right.
And a lot of times you find that people keep making the same mistake because they're drawn to certain types of people, either because of it compensates something they're lacking. A shy person might like someone that's a bit more, you know, aggressive and enthusiastic. So,
and may I interrupt?
Sure.
They might also be attracted to somebody that's really not good for them, but
Right.
they go to a place of comfort, even if that comfort is bad.
Exactly.
Okay.
But maybe even the most important thing is to realize that in a new relationship, you know, we're built, our chemistry is such that we have this thing we call infatuation. And infatuation gets confused. That's the splendor in the grass. That's the Disney you talk about. Infatuation is what us shrinks call a state of projection.
Ooh,
So
I like that.
what we're doing is we're projecting all our needs, desires onto this god or goddess. So that person isn't a real person initially in a relationship. They're 2 feet off the ground. We're not seeing the actual person because what we're seeing is the Romeo and the Juliet aspect. Ultimately, reality sets in. Now, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. Sometimes an infatuation can go on for a long period of time. But eventually, all infatuations die.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare had to die. Infatuations die.
You see that? Morta, morta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to kill Romeo and Juliet before we know. So infatuation is the least likely place that you're going to see clearly. You know, you want to believe the perfection in that person. Everything, you know, it's the roses and you're flying high. So infatuation really is not love. It's a prelude to the possibility of love. Mm-hmm. So you have to go through the infatuated period. But infatuation can be important in that you start to assess at least chemistry. You like the same movies, you like to do this or that. So there are certain things you pick up through the infatuated period. But not until the infatuation becomes grounded do you actually begin to start working with the flesh and blood person. So, you know, once you get out of the splendor in that grass, once you get down to earth, that's where your real shot to work through and have a good relationship is, or not.
Right. And if the women, let's say, and if they do get out of these terrible relationships, right?
Right.
And they don't want to move forward,
right,
because they feel that they've been burnt and they're always
shell-shocked, yeah,
meeting the same kind of person.
Right.
I mean, do they need some kind of awareness to say, well, maybe I need to do some self-discovery?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you get snake bit. And we're all like that. We recoil and we just don't want to have a repeat. So what you do is you insulate yourself from life, which is never the answer. It becomes a new problem.
Right.
But the problem perceptually is that you really do need to go back and look at, you know, what it was in that relationship that blindsided you. Mm-hmm. You know, what is it that you didn't want to see? And if you're honest with yourself, you start to pick up. I remember one woman I was working with, she was coming alone to therapy, but she had a terrible relationship, a miserable relationship. And she said, you know, when I first started going out, this is like 20 years ago, she goes, all the signs, the controlling, the monster that I see, they were all there, but I didn't want to see them, or I minimized them. So we can know things, and yet sometimes we choose to say, it's not so bad, you know, push it under the rug. But these things come back to haunt you. So
right,
you do need to stay aware. You need to recognize that you do have antenna to kind of ferret out, you know, what's going on. But you have to develop that trust. You have to start developing trust in yourself and your perceptions. And the way to do that is to be honest with yourself.
Right. And I think the real thing is, if you see a red flag, freaking believe it.
Yeah.
Don't turn it into a mauve color and think like, oh, no, you know, because I think sometimes we just, you know, you get out of a situation, you go through, you know, the muck and the mire, and you're feeling all beat up, and you meet somebody, and then all of a sudden, like, that little red flag pops up, and then you're thinking, oh, now I'm going to pretend I didn't see it because...
Yeah, what you want to do with a red flag is, use my word curious, gee, honey, I'm curious, you know, why are you stepping on my toes right now? if you don't start to get the appropriate kind of reaction and work through and effort from your partner at that point, then that red flag becomes a red flag.
Right.
But just because there are problems doesn't mean you have to flee. It just means that you have to invite discussion and communication. What you have to do is take a red flag and turn it into, what's the opposite of a red flag? I don't know.
I don't know. White? That's surrender, though, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, you have to surrender to the relationship.
I did it.
Very good. So if you can't turn a red flag into a white, then it remains a red flag, and you have to say to yourself, okay, this is significant.
Right.
And then if there are other red flags that keep cropping up, then of course you need to realize, what am I doing in this relationship?
Exactly.
Every relationship before it dissolves should have the benefit of some objective input, whether it be from a friend or a family member or a counselor.
Right.
But you'd be surprised how many relationships fail just because of lack of understanding and communication skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. But you see, for me, I think that if you just, and this is my advice, it's not, I'm not a PhD. You may disagree with me.
You're not.
You're shocked, right?
I just thought it was
because
Dr. Boom Boom.
It is Dr. Boom Boom. It's actually Dr. Feelgood. Okay, Boom Boom. I'm a different doctor than you. Okay, but so I'm not asking you to agree or disagree with me, but I'm just saying for the women out there, if you start dating again after you've been burnt and crispy, and you're trying to go back into the world and give it a shot, and you're with somebody, and it's the first 2 weeks of this little, romance that you think you're dating, and you start seeing the red flags, freaking get out of there now! Don't wait, thinking, I'm going to change the color of the flag, because guess what? Makikatsu never changes, all right? Once you see someone's true colors the first time, believe them, because that's all there is. Get the frig out now. Save yourself. All right?
So in other words, Dr. Boom Boom is saying that people don't change.
Exactly.
Some people don't change,
Mm-hmm.
but change is really a matter of taking responsibility for the problems. If you have someone that is a bunch of red flags, and they truly want to invest themselves in changing, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I agree.
But, like you say, sometimes we bring with us a whole array of problems that are so deep-seated, and if they're not being changed in a timely fashion, you really have to ask that question, what am I doing in this relationship?
And if you're just meeting someone, and it's in a 2-week span that I just met you,
right.
And we went out to dinner, and then we went out to dinner again, and then we spoke on the phone, then we went out to dinner again, and you've already twisted me 5 times to Sunday, I'm getting rid of your ass.
What does twisted mean?
Twisted, got me all pissed off.
Oh, I thought you meant like infatuated.
No, I would say hot, horny, whatever. Twisted is a bad thing. If I'm twisted, I'm pissed.
Absolutely not. It's in any culture, it is absolutely part of nature. It's the inhibition of sexual exploration, especially in younger children. Not young children, but these are the things that parents get aghast at and create all kinds of reactions to sexuality.
Now, do you know? And I'm just look. If you think I'm crazy, then please.
Do I think she's crazy? Hudson Street. You should have. All right, we'll have a show one day on whether Dr. Joe thinks Boom Boom is crazy, and again, it'll be one of those shows where everyone votes.
No, look, I'm healed. You healed me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Masturbation is dangerous though because there's a fear.
You go blind.
No more of that. They've cured that. It's no more blindness, okay? Because they have LASIK surgery now. Okay? But your fear is that if you keep doing it, that nobody can do it better than you.
Isn't there a song like Nobody Does It
Nobody
better?
does it better. But it could not, because I think that happened to me years ago. That I was afraid I would scream my own name out in bed.
I'm not a Freudian, but I guess it would be autoeroticism.
Ooh.
I know, that just came from
autoeroticism! Dang!
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean...
And you know what's really... I'll share this with you, because it's a shrinky thing.
Oh, boy. We're not in private,
Well, I know, but I don't care. I know. Every once in a while, I would use my left hand just to see what it felt like to cheat on me.